Tell me if you can figure out what all of these people have in common. Thomas McKean, Matthew Thornton, Abraham Clark, John Hart, Richard Stockton, William Floyd, Philip Livingston, James Smith, George Tyler, Benjamin Rush, James Wilson, and the Reverend John Witherspoon. Any guesses? They're all signers of the Declaration of Independence, and they are all Presbyterians. All Presbyterian signers of the Declaration of Independence. That is 12 signers out of a total of 56, which comes to 21% for you mathematical types out there. 21% of the signers of the Declaration were voted members of the Presbyterian Church. And that is just the Declaration of Independence that you and I are familiar with. As the Reverend Twyla Ajukowicz notes in a very helpful sermon that I confess I'm heavily indebted upon for this sermon, Thomas Jefferson's Declaration of Independence came along a full year after 27 staunch Calvinists in Charlotte, North Carolina, including 9 ruling elders and 1 minister of the Presbyterian Church, wrote their own Declaration of Independence called the Mecklenburg Declaration. It was written on May 20th, 1775, over 1 year before the Declaration whose anniversary we celebrated yesterday. By unanimous resolution, this declaration, quote, declared the people free and independent, and that all laws and commissions from the king were henceforth null and void. As Lorraine Botner, Jefferson's biographer, notes, everyone must be persuaded that one of these papers must have borrowed from the other, and I think you can figure out which way that happened. So even before the Declaration of Independence that we know and love was written, rabble-rousing Presbyterians were stirring up trouble. Many of the founding fathers of our country were, in fact, Presbyterian. Not only those that I have already mentioned, but many more who signed the Articles of Confederation and the Constitution, and others who were members of the first U.S. Congress. Presbyterians have, in fact, always been very involved in the political scene and leadership of our country. No less than 9 of our 43 different presidents have been Presbyterian, including such famous men as Andrew Jackson, Grover Cleveland, Woodrow Wilson, Dwight D. Eisenhower, and Ronald Reagan. Abraham Lincoln, by the way, attended regularly a Presbyterian church with his wife Mary Todd, though Lincoln never joined officially any church. There have also been 12 Presbyterian vice presidents, though I'm not so sure what kind of claim to fame that one is. And in addition, 2 of our current presidential candidates are Presbyterian, though believe me, I'm not telling you which 2, okay? Because I'm not opening that can of worms, because I know somebody's going to say that Pastor Bill endorsed him or something like that. I'm not going there. No way. Condoleezza Rice, former United States Secretary of State, is a committed Presbyterian, and in fact, she is a Presbyterian PK, preacher's kid. Her father was a pastor. One pastor tells the story of one time when Condoleezza took time away from her busy political agenda to help with the Christmas pageant at her own Presbyterian church. Now, I don't care what you think about the Bush administration and Condoleezza Rice, but that's pretty impressive. And, of course, Peter Marshall, probably the most famous chaplain of the United States Senate, was a Presbyterian. Now, not everyone, either current or past, has been so pleased with Presbyterians for being so involved with politics. King James I, for instance, once said, quote, Presbytery agreeth with monarch like God with the devil. In other words, Presbyterians never agree with what the king wants. And King George himself regularly called the American Revolution the, quote, Presbyterian Revolt. And he wasn't alone in that. It was commonly result, the British frequently let Presbyterians in our country know exactly how much they were beloved, if you know what I mean. Over 50 Presbyterian churches in the American Revolution were burned to the ground. Interestingly enough, my first church was about a half hour out of Philadelphia, and used to love to take my Presbyterian confirmation classes to Old Pine Presbyterian Church in downtown Philly. Maybe some of you have been there. It's a beautiful church to go into, beautiful, dome, worship center, and so forth. Well, interestingly, it is one of the only pro-revolution churches in Philadelphia, the original building, that is still standing. It was not burned to the ground, unlike almost all of the other pro-revolutionary houses of worship. Oh no, that would have been too good of a fate for the British to just burn the Presbyterian church to the ground. Instead, the British converted Old Pine Presbyterian Church to a horse stable. Okay? Do you understand the symbolism here? Okay? In other words, this is what we think of you Presbyterians. Our horses are going to be doing their business in your place of worship. That's called desecration, friends. Presbyterians were singled out for that special dishonor. In a 1776 letter, the Earl of Dartmouth was informed by one of his representatives, quote, Presbyterianism is really at the bottom of this whole conspiracy, has supplied it with vigor, and will never rest until something is decided on it. The German historian Leopold von Ranke went so far as to say that John Calvin was the virtual founder of America. Perhaps an overstatement and an oversimplification there, but do note that there is a remarkable similarity between the Presbyterian form of government and the form of government of the United States government. And guess what? They didn't get it, or we didn't take it from them. They borrowed it from us. So, by the way, if you're unhappy, I guess, with how democracy works, you got nobody to blame but the Presbyterians. We pretty much invented the whole thing. Presbyterians have always been political, and we have much to celebrate this weekend. But lest we forget what is even more important to celebrate than the birth of our nation, we need to remember that all of those influential Presbyterians, what they held fast to, and what drove them in their involvement, and that is the Word of God. From John Calvin to John Knox's Scottish former Presbyterian, down to you and I gathered here in Johnston, Iowa, the cry of the Reformed Church has always been, and still is, sola fide, sola gratia, sola scriptura. Faith alone, grace alone, Scripture. These are the principles that fire the political activism of our Presbyterian mothers and fathers. And the central thing that Presbyterians get from the Bible, the thing that we hold and cherish most dearly perhaps, is the idea that God alone is sovereign over all of creation. The sovereignty of God is a central idea of Presbyterian theology. I have two Presbyterian ministers here. Can I hear a testimony? Are you in agreement with me? Is that right?
Amen.
Amen. Amen. Now, it just sends, chills to our bones when we talk about the sovereignty of God. Presbyterians have always loved passages like the one from Isaiah that we read this morning, where the prophet pictures God, quote, sitting above the circle of the earth, and its inhabitants are like grasshoppers. God is sovereign, says Isaiah. He rules over the universe. God alone is holy and the rightful ruler over everything. And in comparison to God, we humans are just like little bugs, flicking around on the earth. We're nothing at all. And the princes and the rulers of the world, despite all of their claims to grandeur, are no better, and in fact are often worse than the rest of humanity. Scarcely are they planted, says Isaiah, of politicians. Scarcely are they sown, scarcely has their stem taken root of the earth, when God blows upon them and they wither, and the tempest carries them off like stuff. This is what Isaiah's vision is of governments and how important they are. And so Presbyterians have always recognized that governments are inherently flawed and prone to tyranny and idolatry. Another one of Isaiah's favorite themes, idolatry. And all idols that keep God from freely reigning in the human heart must be toppled, according to Calvin and the Bible. And so Calvinists believe that certain rights are unalienable, given to us by God himself, and that any power or any ruler who attempts to take those freedoms from us is going against God himself. As a result, as Rod Gregg's book Forged in Faith shows, and many others, the American Revolution was perceived by many on the American side as a holy war, a war against those who oppose God. This is an often overlooked component of American history, a holy war. Now, I don't know about you, but especially in our day and age, I start to get quite jittery when people start to call any war a holy war. War itself is inherently unholy. It does damage to the very image of God in humanity. God weeps, in fact, when we go to war. Yet I, and probably the majority of Christian thinkers, have come to the terrible conclusion that sometimes war is a necessary evil. Sometimes it is the only way we have to go, even though it is bad. Largely because of their faith, our founding fathers and mothers came to this conclusion regarding bravery. For this they are to be respected and they are to be honored, although they are not to be glorified. Let us not forget that these men and women, but especially these men, I suppose, who were in power, were very sinful themselves. That many of them enslaved numerous African Americans and oppressed Native Americans, although many from both of those groups fought in the pro-patriot cause in the American Revolution. Nonetheless, there's much that we can learn from these men and women, from their courage, from their faith in God, and from their opposition to idolatry. As we come to this election year, here in this fair state, where I understand that it gets a little bit interesting during the presidential election, as we come to this time of year, we, for instance, might be really wise not to idealize or idolize any political party. To remember that no political party is truly, quote, on God's side, although I think both sides claim that they are on God's side. All political powers, all human entities, in fact, are ultimately out to enhance their own kingdom, not the kingdom of God. I mean, let's be honest. There are just way too many special interest groups on both sides of the election to claim that either Republicans or Democrats have a spiritual advantage over the other one. You may say they have a practical advantage. Fine, argue it out. But don't claim that God is on your side. And so perhaps just maybe, a little bit of humility, and certainly a whole lot of kindness towards those whom we perceive as the opposition would be perhaps in line as we go about our politicking and go about our Facebook posting and so on and so forth this upcoming year. Can I hear an amen to that? Yeah. Amen. We're not going to divide St. Paul Presbyterian Church, with red and blue lines. Only God is sovereign. Only God is holy. And that's always been essential to Presbyterians. And it's, quite honestly, always gotten us into trouble. Probably always will get us into trouble. If you don't like trouble, you're probably in the wrong church. We're going to look a lot more at this next week. But for now, today, Independence Day weekend, I want to take a moment to celebrate. To celebrate God's enduring faithfulness. To celebrate our nation's birthday. To celebrate the the fact that the founding of this nation was indeed largely, or at least significantly, impacted by very faithful, very passionate Presbyterians. And I suppose if you're looking for somebody to blame all the fireworks on last night, or the closed streets because of the parades, or the fact that you couldn't get to your bank, well, then go ahead and blame it on the Presbyterians. Because we bear a whole lot of responsibility for this wonderful, beautiful, and troublesome mess we call the United States of America. Let's pray. Gracious God, today we thank you for faithful forefathers and foremothers who fought hard for freedom. Sinful people they were, Lord, and yet here we are with the most wonderful experiment in human history. Lord, help us, God, to remember that these patriots were flawed people, and that what drove them was their vision of you, and that in the end, the principles that we learn from Scripture are so much of what is behind democracy, the idea that each person has dignity and rights and ought to have freedom. Help us to cling to that. Help us to not let any sin or any idol prevent us from worshiping you